There's a little jazz bar near the river, hidden underneath a faded sign. Old wooden chairs and dusty records, frozen softly somewhere out of time. The bartender wipes another glass without saying very much, and people sit beneath the amber lights like silence is enough. Outside the rain keeps falling slow against the window near the door, but inside this tired little room nobody rushes anymore. No loud laughter, no crowded noise, only brush drums drifting low, and strangers quietly breathing to the rhythm of old soul. Nobody talks much here, still somehow it feels warm. The trumpet fills the empty spaces like shelter from the storm. Nobody talks much here, and maybe that's why people stay, because some hearts are simply tired of explaining their pain. A man in a long brown coat stares softly at his coffee cup. A woman writes in tiny letters and folds the paper up. The record spins another song with tiny scratches in the sound, and every little broken note feels honest somehow. The clock above the whiskey shelf moves slower than the world outside, and for a moment all our loneliness sits quietly side by side. Nobody asks too many questions, nobody pretends to shine. Just tired souls and old jazz records passing gently through the night. Nobody talks much here, but the piano understands every unfinished memory people carry in their hands. Nobody talks much here, still the room feels strangely alive, like quiet hearts that almost gave up, found somewhere safe tonight. Maybe peace is not excitement, maybe peace is simply this: a dim light, a slow trumpet, and a place where silence fits. No pressure to be happy, no need to perform, just existing softly while the vinyl keeps you warm. Nobody talks much here, and outside the city glows millions of people passing by with stories no one knows. Nobody talks much here, still the music says enough. And somewhere inside this old jazz bar, lonely hearts heal slowly tonight. city slowly loses color as daylight slips behind the trains. Streetlights bloom beside the river, and evening settles in again. I pull a dusty record gently from a sleeve worn thin with time. Tiny scratches hold old stories like faded photographs in sound. The needle falls with quiet thunder, soft crackle floating through the room. And suddenly the empty silence turns warm beneath the amber gloom. Outside the world keeps rushing, phones still glow and taxis fly. But in here the night moves slower, one song at a time. The night begins with vinyl and a trumpet soft and low, brush drums walking through the darkness like footsteps in the snow. The night begins with vinyl while old melodies arise, turning lonely little moments into something warm tonight. Coffee steam beside the speaker, curtains moving with the wind. A neon sign across the alley flickers blue against the dim. I think about the lives we wanted, the roads we never got to take. And somehow through these old jazz records, those memories ache less. The bass line moves beneath the room, slow and patient like the moon. And every spinning second here feels softer than the day. Maybe healing sounds like vinyl, tiny imperfections too, because broken things can still create something beautiful and true. The night begins with vinyl, and the piano softly glows like conversations we abandoned long ago but still remember. The night begins with vinyl, and the city fades away, leaving only warmth and jazz to carry us till daybreak. No grand answers, no dramatic endings, just old records spinning near the light. A tired soul, a quiet apartment, and enough music to survive the night begins with vinyl, while dawn still waits outside. The trumpet cries like distant headlights under rainy city skies. The night begins with vinyl, and though the world feels cold sometimes, these old jazz records keep a little human warmth alive tonight. office lights went dark at 9. Another overtime goodbye. People disappeared in pairs into the cool September air. I stopped by the corner store, like I've done 100 times before. One cold beer and cigarettes for nights I haven't figured out yet. The train arrived with tired sounds, faces staring at the ground. Everyone looked somewhere else, like they were hiding from themselves. The city keeps on moving fast, but tonight I let it pass. I just want a quiet seat and old jazz drifting through the street. One beer after work, and the night slows down a little. The neon lights begin to blur, while the trumpet plays so brittle. One beer after work, no conversation needed now, just vinyl spinning near the window, and silence settling somehow. My jacket smells like rain and smoke and unfinished office jokes. The coffee stains upon my sleeve look older than this week to me. I turn the record gently round, brush drums whisper through the sound. There's comfort in familiar songs that stay beside you when days feel long. Outside the buses fade away, last commuters end the day. And somewhere under all these lights, someone else is awake tonight. No grand plans to chase tonight, no need to fix this lonely life. Just a little peace inside, while the bass line slowly walks beside me. One beer after work, and the room turns warm again. The piano sounds like memories I almost thought had ended. One beer after work, and somehow I can finally breathe, as if this tired little evening still has something left for me. Maybe happiness is smaller than we thought when we were young. Maybe it's this quiet moment after all the work is done. A small apartment, a spinning record, a city glowing far away, and enough strength to wake tomorrow and do it all again. One beer after work, while old jazz fills the air tonight. The trumpet bends like lonely streetlights, fading softly out of sight. One beer after work, and though nobody really knows, inside this slow and tired city, a little warmth still grows. station clock says 12:43. A cold wind moves through line 2 seats. Convenience store coffee in my hand. Another quiet ride across the hand. The platform echoes tired shoes. Half-awake faces dressed in blue. Nobody speaks above the rail. Only the sound of the moving trail. Outside, the dark apartment lights pass like unfinished city lives. And somewhere underneath this train, old memories return again. I used to call somebody late at night before these stations felt this silent. Now the subway sings alone like an old jazzophone. Last train to Hapjeong, carrying hearts too tired to talk. Neon reflections on the window, moving slowly through the dark. Last train to Hapjeong, and the city still won't sleep. The vinyl trumpet in my headphones sounds like memories I keep. Home day lights are fading out. Rainwater shines along the ground. A couple laughs beside the door, then disappear at Seoul stop. I stay until the final ride, watching tunnels pass outside. Like all these years I never said, the thoughts still circling in my head. The conductor's tired voice feels strangely warm inside the noise. And for a moment in this train, loneliness feels beautiful again. Maybe every midnight subway carries stories no one tells. Broken dreams and quiet people floating through this sleepless rail. Last train to Hapjeong, with old jazz softly playing low. Brush drums moving like the river beneath the bridges down below. Last train to Hapjeong, while the stations disappear. And somewhere in the tunnel darkness, your memory still waits here. Some nights the city feels enormous, like it could swallow every sound. But inside these moving train lights, small pieces of us are found. A tired smile, a silent passenger, a melody through old headphones. Tiny lives crossing briefly before returning home alone. Last train to Hapjeong, and tomorrow comes too fast. But tonight this lonely subway feels like somewhere built to last. Last train to Hapjeong, through the sleeping Seoul skyline. Old jazz and city lights together, keeping quiet hearts alive. Rain falls softly in Shimokitazawa. Tiny lights reflect on old umbrellas. Records sleeping by the café wall, while distant trains hum through it all. The jazz bar hides beneath the sign. Smoke and coffee blur the time. The bartender turns the vinyl slow, like he already knows this song. Outside the alley, bicycles shine beside vending machines at night. Tokyo breathes so quietly, like it's protecting lonely dreams. Nobody asked where I came from. Nobody asked how long I'll stay. And somehow in this foreign silence I finally feel okay. Tokyo vinyl rain and old jazz through the midnight air. Trumpets floating through the window like forgotten prayers. Tokyo vinyl rain, neon trembling on the street. Every quiet little heartbeat moving with the brush drum beat. The coffee tastes a little bitter, but tonight it feels just right. Couples laugh outside the station as taxis disappear from sight. I watch reflections move like film across the wet and empty hill, and every passing city sound feels softer when the rain comes down. The old LP keeps spinning warm inside this tiny hidden bar, and somewhere between these melodies I stop feeling so far. Maybe every crowded city has a corner meant for rest, a small forgotten jazz cafe where tired hearts can breathe again. Tokyo vinyl rain, slow piano under amber light. Brush drums whisper like footsteps fading gently through the night. Tokyo vinyl rain, and the city glows alone, like millions of quiet people trying to find their way back home. I used to think loneliness was something cold and hard to hold, but tonight beneath these neon skies it feels strangely beautiful. A rainy street, a spinning record, a stranger quietly smiling near, and for a little while the world feels warm here. Tokyo vinyl rain still falling softly after 2. Old jazz drifting through the alleys like memories returning new. Tokyo vinyl rain, and somewhere under city lights a lonely heart keeps walking slowly through another peaceful night. The apartment feels larger at night, when every little sound survives. The refrigerator hums alone, like an old tired saxophone. The chair still faces toward the wall beside a coat that doesn't move at all. The kitchen light is dim and weak, and old jazz drifts through quiet streets. Outside, the window's soul still glows. Cars move slowly down below. But up here in this silent room, time hangs heavy like perfume. I leave the vinyl spinning low, just to hear another soul. Because silence after midnight can feel too close. Empty apartment jazz and city lights across the floor. The trumpet sounds like memories, walking softly through the door. Empty apartment jazz, while brush drums move slow as rain. Like every lonely little heartbeat, still searching for a name. A coffee mug beside the sink still carries lipstick, faded pink. Some habits stay inside a room long after people disappear. I open windows to the night, cool air and distant neon signs. And somewhere far beyond these streets, a siren fades into the dark. The bass line moves so patiently, like it knows how hard it is to breathe. On nights when every corner here still quietly remembers someone. Maybe homes keep echoes of the lives we almost had. And maybe old jazz understands the beauty hidden inside sad, empty apartment jazz. And piano glowing warm tonight. The vinyl crackle sounds like footsteps, fading gently out of sight. Empty apartment jazz, still somehow it comforts me. Like the room itself is whispering, you survived another week. I used to fear being alone inside these narrow city walls, but loneliness becomes softer when the trumpet starts to call. A small room, a midnight record, a tired heart still awake, and enough warmth to believe tomorrow might not hurt the same. Empty apartment jazz, while dawn waits quietly outside. Old records turning through the darkness, like they're trying to keep hope alive. Empty apartment jazz, and though nobody came tonight, the music stayed beside me until the morning light. Cigarette smoke above the table twists slowly through the amber light. The bartender turns the sign to closed, but nobody leaves tonight. An old piano near the corner still remembers softer days. Its worn-out keys hold broken stories people drank to hide away. Outside, the alley rain keeps falling against the sleeping city walls. And somewhere underneath the silence, a lonely trumpet softly calls. Nobody here is really talking. Still somehow we understand that certain nights feel easier with whiskey and old jazz. Cigarette smoke, an old piano floating through the midnight blue. Brush drums move like tired footsteps down avenues we never knew. Cigarette smoke and old piano, while vinyl crackles near the bar like tiny pieces of forgotten hearts still glowing in the dark. A woman in a long black coat stares softly through the glass, watching taxi lights dissolve across the wet and empty path. A tired man beside the window laughs quietly to himself, as if the song unlocked a memory he never told to anyone else. The bass line walks beneath the room, slow and warm like passing trains, and every note the trumpet bends feels stitched together out of pain. Maybe music was invented for nights exactly like these, when people carry too much silence to ever explain completely. Cigarette smoke, an old piano, and the city fading low. The melodies sound like winter streets covered softly under snow. Cigarette smoke and old piano, while dawn still waits outside. Old jazz holding fragile people together through the night. No perfect endings, no sudden healing, just dim lights and familiar songs. A little warmth inside the darkness, enough to help us carry on. Cigarette smoke, an old piano, and trumpet echoes through the rain, like old memories returning slowly, then disappearing once again. Cigarette smoke, an old piano, still glowing after closing time, while lonely hearts and vinyl records keep each other alive tonight. The convenience store still glows at nearly 4 a.m. Coffee machines humming softly like an old familiar friend. Rainwater shines beneath the lights outside the sliding door, and tired strangers wander in without speaking much anymore. Cup noodles, cigarettes, cold beer stacked beneath fluorescent white. Tiny ordinary objects keeping lonely people alive tonight. The city feels enormous when the last trains disappear, but somehow these little places make the darkness easier. The convenience store still glows, and old jazz fills my headphones low. Brush drums walking with my footsteps through the quiet afterglow. The convenience store still glows while neon flickers in the rain, like a tiny island of warmth inside this sleepless place. A student sleeps beside the window, book spread open on the chair. A taxi driver stirs hot ramen with tired eyes and messy hair. The clerk barely says a word, still somehow the silence fits, like everyone who enters here carries something difficult. The bass line moves beneath the night, slow as traffic by the bridge, and every trumpet note tonight feels stitched together out of missing things. Maybe comfort isn't grand, maybe it's smaller than we think. A warm light in the early morning, and enough time to breathe. The convenience store still glows, and piano drifts across the rain. The vinyl crackle sounds like footsteps returning home again. The convenience store still glows while dawn waits quietly nearby. Old jazz and fluorescent lighting, holding fragile hearts tonight. No beautiful movie endings, no dramatic scene to close, just tired people moving slowly under ordinary lights. But maybe there's beauty hidden inside these unnoticed nights, where small warm places help us survive until the morning arrives. The convenience store still glows, and the sky begins turning blue. The trumpet fades beside the sunrise, like dreams we almost knew. The convenience store still glows, and though another day will start for one more quiet midnight hour, it's sheltered lonely hearts. After midnight, still awake, streetlights tremble on the lake. The city sounds are growing thin as another sleepless hour begins. The record player turns so slow, like it's scared to let me go. Brush drums drift across the room beneath the pale apartment moon. Empty glasses near the sink, half-finished thoughts I couldn't speak. And somewhere in the cooling air, your memory still lingers here. Some nights feel endless, like the dark won't break apart. But old jazz keeps moving gently through the corners of my heart. After midnight, still awake, while the trumpet softly cries. Neon reflections on the ceiling move like tired city skies. After midnight, still awake, and the vinyl crackles low, like tiny sparks of human warmth inside the quiet glow. A taxi passes far below, leaving trails of yellow gold. The window fog begins to bloom like lonely weather in this room. I used to fear these silent nights, the weight of all the missing light. But somewhere through these worn out songs, the sadness doesn't feel as strong. The bass line walks beneath my chest, slowly teaching me to rest. And every note the piano plays feels softer than the hurt today. Maybe healing takes its time, maybe hearts recover slow, like records spinning patiently long after people go. After midnight, still awake, with old jazz beside my soul. The brush drums sound like passing footsteps on forgotten winter roads. After midnight, still awake, yet somehow less alone, because these tired little melodies still feel a little like home. The city hides millions of windows, still glowing quietly tonight. People carrying secret sadness behind apartment lights. And maybe somewhere out there, another person sits like me, listening to old records, trying gently to breathe. After midnight, still awake, while the first birds start to sing. The trumpet fades into the sunrise, like the ending of a dream. After midnight, still awake, but the night no longer hurts, because somewhere between these old jazz songs, I slowly found myself again. before the city wakes again. The streets belong to shadows now. Traffic lights blink quietly to nobody around. A pale blue dawn behind the towers slowly washes through the sky, and old jazz drifts across the room like the final breath of night. Coffee cools beside the window, vinyl turning one last time. Tiny scratches in the music sound softer before sunrise. These sleepless hours always feel more honest than the day, like hearts stop pretending right before the morning comes, before the city wakes again and the buses start to run. The trumpet glows like fading stars, disappearing one by one, before the city wakes again. While brush drums move like rain, old jazz holding tired souls through another night of pain. The skyline slowly changes color from deep blue into gray. Convenience stores grow brighter as darkness slips away. A lonely taxi crosses bridges over quiet riverside roads, and somewhere in a tiny apartment another sleepless person breathes slow. The bass line walks beneath the silence, warm as lights inside a train, teaching fragile hearts at dawn how to begin again. Maybe survival is quieter than movies make it seem. Maybe it's simply making it to another morning before the city wakes again and the world becomes too loud. The piano sounds like hidden hope floating underneath the clouds before the city wakes again. The vinyl crackles low like small remaining pieces of warmth we still hold. No perfect future waiting, no clear answer in sight, just old records and tired people surviving through the night. A slow trumpet, a dim apartment, a sky becoming new, and enough strength to face another day, quietly coming through before the city wakes again. As sunlight fills the room, the trumpet fades beside the morning, like the ending of a tune, before the city wakes again and another day begins. These old jazz songs still leave behind a little peace within.